Good afternoon. Welcome to the Batman Show, minus Eric Woods. But we got Ian, and we got me, and we got Airforce One with Harrison Ford, scored by Jerry Goldsmith. What more do you need, Ian?
Nothing.
Is that the 4K?
That's the 4K.
Okay. How does it look in 4K?
It looks splendiferous, if that's a word.
Well, you just said it, so it must be.
It's a word now.
This was your pick of a film for this week, since someone is on vacation in Newfoundland.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed this film, and I've always enjoyed the music even more for some reason. Because trying to get in the thing there.
I'm glad you got the expanded one, because that original one just feels so short.
It does. That's 37 minutes, the original one.
Yeah.
That's over 2 hours. So,
I think you just proved my point. Thank you.
Done, dusted.
Yeah.
But it's a fun film.
And it's got Harrison Ford.
It's got Harrison Ford. It's directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who's no slouch in the directing side of things. He's made some interesting films, some good films, and some not so good films. Can't think of any not so good films. Can you?
Not that I've seen. I haven't seen everything he's done though. But in the Line of Fire, top notch. Airforce One, top notch. Did he do White Squall?
No, that was Ridley Scott.
Okay.
He did Troy.
Okay, Troy's probably my least favorite film that he's done.
I quite enjoyed that, especially the director's cut of it. He did Enemy Mine. Have you seen Enemy Mine?
No. I know I need to do retro reels somewhere. Retro reels is like, how have you not seen that? I'm like, I just haven't.
And of course, he did his German language film, which was a miniseries and a film at the same time, Das Boot, yeah, which was superb.
Oh, and Big Al says he did Outbreak. He did Outbreak too.
Oh, he did Outbreak. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh man, that movie scared me, and this is why I had mono that spring, summer. And I almost died, and it took them forever to figure out what was wrong. And this was like, I saw Outbreak about that same time. I was convinced I was going to die. But luckily, I did not. If I had, I wouldn't be here right now. So
very true. Very true.
Just welcome the chat real fast. We have Gist in the house with his teddy bear avatar, and Mr. Brett Lukefeld. Am I butchering your name? If so, I apologize. This movie has a fantastic score. It does. And if you do not have the extended edition from Berserk Band, you need to buy it like right now. And Big Al, of course, is in the house. Get off my plane. Yes, yes. He did. Wolfgang Peterson directed Poseidon, the remake of the Poseidon Adventure. Okay. Interesting. I did not know that. Well, if you're ready to dive into this fine movie, my friend.
I am.
If I can get... Okay, Brett says he has both versions of the soundtrack. That's always a good thing to have, both. So maybe I need to turn it on. I have not procured a new tablet yet. I'm going to try to delay that as long as I can. That way I have more money to buy CDs and LPs.
So what are you watching not a film on tonight?
Well, I downloaded it onto the tablet at the coffee shop this morning.
Just bear with me.
Oh, you're good. Remember, I got to find my little earpluggy things. I made some real progress yesterday in getting the library further along its path to becoming a library.
The library? What do you mean?
The master bedroom I'm turning into a library, because I've never used it for anything pretty much, except this has been like a guest room, and no one ever comes over to spend the night. I don't know why. Maybe it's all the dogs that I have.
When you say library, you mean as in books?
Books, lots of books. I'm going to put all the books in there. And like 2 or 3 desks and record player and all that snazzy stuff.
Nice.
I'm kind of basing it around Hannibal Lecter's office from the TV show. I got 3 red walls, a khaki wall, red and khaki striped curtains. Most of the pictures are in silver frames for that room. So I got a white mantle I'm going to put up. I think it's going to look cool when it's done.
It sounds it. It sounds it.
But in my mind, my entire house looks pretty cool. But some people don't think so.
Well, so long as you do, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I'm the one that lives here.
Yeah, exactly.
Go figure. There it is. So have you heard from Erik much?
No. I mean, I put he put the video out last week on his channel, his YouTube channel, about what he was doing, and I put a couple of comments on there. But he seems to be having a great time. So
it's pretty where he's at. I'll say that.
It's lovely, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, you ready?
Yes. Okay. 3, 2, 1, play. I got the Columbia lady coming on.
Likewise.
People in the chat, what's your favorite Harrison Ford film that's not Indiana Jones or Star Wars? Wondering how many of y'all are going to say Mosquito Coast. Probably not. Although I think that was a fun film.
Do you know what? I've only ever seen that once.
I think that's probably how often I've seen it.
Well, at least you've seen it. That's the main thing.
And now, The Fugitive from Brett. All right. I think I might have to agree with you, Brett, The Fugitive.
Is somebody going to say Blade Runner?
Oh, man. I think that's just a masterpiece and not so much a film. That's my Birdman logic, so I could get both of them into the same sentence.
Yeah, I'm just trying to... What?
Now, I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but this was not the first film score for this film. Randy Newman.
The history.
Randy Newman did a film score, and they weren't happy with it. Goldsmith, he had what, a month to do this?
3 weeks, I think it was.
3 weeks. It's less than a month.
And that's 3 weeks to write, orchestrate, and score it.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
He did have help from Joe McNeely, is that right?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, I was going with Blade Runner. Brett saying Blade Runner is awesome. Blade Runner is awesome. That's what sold me a Laserdisc player back in the day, was Blade Runner.
I never had Blade Runner on Laserdisc. I had it on VHS. I had all the various versions on DVD, Blu-ray, and
4K?
4K.
Like, you and Retro Reels are going to sell me a 4K machine. Have you listened to the Randy Newman score?
I've heard bits and bobs. I've heard some of it. I mean,
it is on YouTube in complete form.
I do kind of like the music, but not for this film. It seems to be from a completely different film.
I don't know why you would hire Randy Newman to score this film.
No, I mean he's good at the films that he does score.
Yeah,
you know, the kind of the Toy Stories and the kind of the homespun American kind of films that he has done, but not this kind of film. I think this was filmed in Ohio somewhere. I'm trying to remember comments made on the commentary for the film.
I wonder why they didn't get Hans Zimmer to score this. He was kind of like a go-to action person back. Well, I mean, he still is go-to action person. I forget. Have you ever parachuted?
I have done.
Wow. Did you like it?
I liked it for those first 6 jumps I did, and then we were rained off for 3 days, and I didn't want to go back up in the air. That was enough for me. Jürgen Prochnow, star of Das Boot.
Do you think an extraction like this would actually be possible in the real world?
From the middle of somebody else's country.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be difficult, I would imagine. How would you get into the center of their country in your aircraft without anybody noticing? Now, they actually did send, I think Michael Ballhaus was the cinematographer, I think, for this film. They sent his son with a kind of small unit to Moscow to film those external scenes of the Kremlin. That guy playing the Russian president is an American actor, apparently. Harrison Ford turned 80, was it last week?
Yeah. And Indiana Jones is supposed to be his last film.
Yeah, I read that, but it was. I've seen nothing else apart from this one person that quoted that. I don't know where that came from.
Well, John Williams mentioned it in an interview.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
He said, if it's Harrison's last film, I guess it could be mine.
I think if you're 80 years old, you deserve some kind of retirement, don't you?
I would think so. I hope he has enough money to retire. I mean, he owns like half of Montana. I mean,
he could sell half of that, then he'd be fine.
Yeah. Now the budget for this was 85, and the world box office was 315.
Yeah, it was quite a success.
It was the 4th highest domestic movie that year in the States.
On the same day that I saw this, I also saw Contact.
It's like a double feature?
It wasn't. It was just 2 films that I needed to catch up with. So I saw Contact in the afternoon, and then met up with some friends in the evening and saw this.
Which one did you like more?
This one. That's a real 747 that they rented for this production and painted. Do you know who they had lined up to star as the president before Harrison Ford?
I don't know who else you would want.
They wanted Kevin Costner,
Hmm.
but I think there were kind of scheduling conflicts. So Harrison
Oh,
Ford got the
Cedric
part.
Moss, how are you today?
I like the fact those Russian soldiers there are holding back about 17 people.
Has Gary Oldman ever done the same role twice? Every film I can think of, he's just a completely different person.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't even if he knows who he is in real life anymore. He's just, you get Johnny Depp, you kind of know what you're getting with Johnny Depp. But Gary Oldman is just like,
Sometimes it's hard. Did you see the Churchill film, The Darkest Hour?
yeah, yeah,
Almost unrecognizable in that. And obviously it's
yeah.
prosthetics, but still. There's minimal electronics and synthesized music in Jerry Goldsmith's score, and I think that's he didn't have a chance to kind of noodle around with it because he only had 3 weeks to do that, do the score. I think it's better without his usual kind of phalanx of tricks. I don't know. What do you think?
It's just one of my favorite Goldsmith scores. I never thought of it that way, but might be one reason why I like it so much.
Yeah,
But I am an American, and this does sound very patriotic.
absolutely. It did well in the UK, but there was a lot of criticism about the patriotism and the kind of maybe the jingoistic nature of it. But do you know what? I love that. If you're going to make a film about the president of the United States saving his family on his plane, it's got to be patriotic, for God's sake.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I think sometimes people just like to bitch just to bitch.
yeah, yeah. People like to read negative things more than positive things.
I forget. He's the Secretary of State. Is that right?
Uh, no, he's the. I can't remember. I think the Secretary of State's down in the White House Situation Room.
National Security Advisor.
That's it.
Hello, Michael. How are you? Goldsmith's Airforce One score reminds me a lot of Star Trek First Contact. Yeah, I can kind of hear that. Did Joel Goldsmith do much with Airforce One as he did with First Contact? I think it's just Joe McNeely with this one.
I think maybe Joel was involved on a very tiny amount, but it was basically, I think, Jerry and Joel McNeely.
I hadn't really made the connection with First Contact there, but now that he mentions that, I'm kind of hearing it in my head.
Yeah, on the commentary for First Contact, who directed First Contact? Jonathan Frakes. As soon as the opening credits start, he says, "Doesn't this sound a lot like Air Force One?" And it was only, I hadn't put two and two together, and when he said that, I thought, it does sound similar.
Okay, Michael. So when I get off this show, I'm gonna have to listen to First Contact all over again. So thank you for that.
This film is 25 years old this year.
This film is? Thank you for making me feel older.
You're welcome. His daughter and the young lady there inherited millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Life is rough, you know.
Yeah, so she's
a philanthropist or whatever they're called now.
Yeah.
I think they make a convincing couple.
Yeah. Did you know that Harrison Ford filmed a cameo for E.T.?
Yeah.
Have you seen the footage of that?
I haven't. Is it out?
I think it was on one of the 20th anniversary DVDs. It's probably somewhere on YouTube. But he played the principal of Elliot's school.
At the school. Yeah.
I don't think you never saw his face, but his voice was so recognizable that I think Steven Spielberg thought, well, it's going to take people out of the film if they know it's Indiana Jones talking to Elliot. See, Americans say Moscow. We in the UK say Moscow.
Because I say Glasgow and you say Glasgow, right?
Yeah.
And they don't waste much time in setting this action in place. It's like what, like 20 minutes? And it gets going.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Michael stir the pot. The British say everything better.
Having said that, you say lieutenant, we say lieutenant. I've never understood that. I don't know where the
You
lieutenant
say it like left, right? Like left, lieutenant.
lieutenant. So phonetically it would be LEF tenant,
Yeah.
lieutenant. I've never understood where we get that from. It doesn't make any sense to me. Lieutenant, that's the way it looks if you're going to say
Yeah.
it. Xander Berkeley. He was in the first two seasons of 24. He was in Terminator 2.
Who was he in Terminator 2?
He played
The dad.
John Connor's
The
foster father.
foster dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Gets the blade through his mouth.
You gotta be a cold-blooded bastard to betray your friends like that.
Now, did he place that smoke grenade in that cabinet to do that? Because it seems like an odd thing to have in that cabinet of weapons.
I would think so, because all those weapons are just primarily defensive. They're not going to fly Air Force anywhere to take any territory.
No.
Norm Balfe does do some fine scores. I would agree, Gist. I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure those are HKs, MP5s.
The British SAS used to use those.
They use MP5s.
Well, that was kind of 25, 30 years ago.
Oh, it's still the Cadillac of
Is
9mm submachine guns. That's.
I would imagine they still probably do then.
I know SIG is trying to make inroads into it, but I don't think the HK MP5 is going anywhere.
I remember watching this for the first time and just thinking this was an insanely exciting kind of 7 or 8 minutes. And with this particular bit of score all the way through it, it just elevated it to a new level.
It's the standout track on the soundtrack release, I would say.
Yeah. The way it's heard in the film, it's slightly different to what was on the original soundtrack release. There was some editing and they kind of elongated certain bits or repeated bits to. The visual effects still stand up okay in this film. It's just let down with the ending, but I suppose we'll get to that.
There was a dispute on how they were going to do the ending. They wanted to do models, but the CGI guys wanted to do CGI.
Maybe they should have gone with the models.
Yeah. They said they would have to make at least a quarter size scale model to make it look believable. But like, okay, just make it.
Yeah. In retrospect, I bet the wish they'd done that now.
I almost say this action piece is almost Hans Zimmer like. It's because it's not overly complicated. You've got some basic elements, and he's just repeating them and building them up over and over.
Yeah, but I think in Jerry Goldsmith's kind of later years, his music did become simplified. Not simple, but it just it
And
changed his
I'm not
style.
disparaging the score at all. Anyone, don't get that idea.
No. I understand that. I understand that. They could have made a very short film if that piece of explosives put on there just blew off the front of the plane and the plane just crashed in a huge fireball. You see, you probably couldn't do this kind of filming today because they actually filmed with a real 747 rushing down a
Yeah,
runway.
yeah, it was all being the computer.
Yeah, I mean that I think is either CGI or a model, but his Russian pilot there played Peter Parker's landlord in the Tobey
Yeah, look at
Maguire
that guy.
Spider-Man films.
That's a big plane to get up off the ground. The Air Force officer was the judge in A Few Good Men.
And he was also in Remo, Unarmed and Dangerous. Which had a great score by Craig Safin. The same year that Gary Oldman did this, he did The Fifth Element as well.
Wow, those are vastly different roles.
Absolutely. What's that guy's name? The guy that's playing the Dean, somebody?
Dean Stockwell?
Dean Stockwell, thank you. He died recently, didn't he?
He did. He didn't look healthy for the past several years of his life.
No.
He was on Battlestar Galactica, and he was. I'm not disparaging the man because he was old, and we're all going to get old. He was hunched over, and you could tell he wasn't in the best of health.
I thought he was excellent on that, though. I thought he did a great performance.
I did, yeah. I could just tell by looking at him, though, in some scenes, it's like I can tell you're getting up there.
Yeah.
Did you ever miss the Army?
Not really. I miss the kind of camaraderie and the feeling of doing something important, that sort of thing. But it is a young man's game. It
Yeah.
really is. I'm pleased and proud that I served for the 10 years that I did. So I've got good memories. I did things, went places that I would never had the chance to do. So I look back with fond memories, but I don't miss it at my age now.
If I could do it all over again, I would have dropped out of high school at 16, gotten a GED, gone to college, gotten out at like 2021, and then got into the Coast Guard as an officer and retired at like 45, 46.
Okay.
Because I would be retired right now.
So it's all about being retired now. It's not about how you got there.
Oh, I'm sure I would still be doing something. Probably this, maybe something else. But you know, when you're young, you think, you know, like time lasts forever. But the older you get, you realize it kind of doesn't.
No, time moves so slowly when you're younger, and you think you've got all the time in the world. But as you slowly get older and older, it seems to speed up, and you think, oh shit, I've got to start doing stuff. I've got to, and then
Yeah.
it's too late.
And that painting right there in that room, I actually have that in the dining room. I have that exact
The one
same
that was
painting.
at the back.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's by Albert Breitstard. It's some buffalo on a plain on a lake.
Is it a painting known to be in the White House? Is it, or is it just a famous painting?
I think it's been in the White House at one point. He's a very famous American painter. He painted landscapes galore, a lot of stuff out west and a lot of stuff up in New England.
Glenn Close had a very small role in Hook.
She played the pirate that got put in the boo box, right? Yeah.
With a beard.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow was in Hook as well.
What part?
She played young Wendy.
I haven't seen Hook in a long time.
Likewise. Again, believe it or not, Hook is 31 years old this year.
Hmm.
Did you see that note from Retro Reels?
So fun. Yeah, I saw it like 6 times in the theater back in the day. So. And I had it on Laserdisc as well.
I had it on Laserdisc as well.
Wasn't it awesome on Laserdisc?
It was.
I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to watch this as Pan and Scam. There's just no way. Is there a 4K version of Hook?
Yeah.
There is? Thank you for stopping by, Retro Reels. Have a good evening. We got to get you back on soon. We still got to get that Showgirls done.
See you later, Neil. I bought a Blu-ray a couple of weeks ago. I've got it here. I'll just show it to you. I haven't watched it yet. It's still in the wrapper.
Oh, okay. 6 pounds. Speaking about movies, which version of The Watchmen do you have?
Which version don't I have?
Okay.
I got them all out when you texted me. I've got the original version.
Okay.
I've got the director's cut.
Okay. And there's another version?
The ultimate cut.
Okay. Get me the running time on the ultimate cut and the director's cut, and that's the one I'll get.
Well, the director's cut is over 3 hours. The ultimate cut is even longer.
Oh.
The normal version, or the original version, should I say, is
like 2 hours and 40?
Trying to find the runtime on these things sometimes is a... Oh, there we go. 2 hours 42 for the initial version. For the director's cut, 3 hours 6 minutes. For the ultimate cut, 3 hours 35 minutes. 3 hours 25.
What else do you get with the ultimate cut? That
there's have you read the comic or the graphic novel?
I flipped through it. I haven't sat down and read it.
There's a kid at a newsstand that reads a comic book at various stages throughout the story. I can't remember what the comic book's called. Tales of the Black Freighter. Now that's been animated and incorporated into the ultimate cut.
Okay.
So
what's the difference between the director's cut and the 2 hour and 42 minute version?
The running time? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while since I've seen it, so well, according to the blurb on the back, it's over 24 minutes longer. It doesn't explain what has been added there. Harrison Ford really throws himself around in this next kind of little fight scene.
He's always been all in about doing stunts.
Well, he says that he doesn't do stunts. He says he does action. He does physical acting, which is what he calls this thing coming up. But he's never been afraid of doing this stuff.
It's probably a good thing, because if not, I don't think Indiana Jones would have been as successful.
No. I mean, when you look at some of the Roger Moore James Bond films, he was being doubled left, right, and center, and it's just
Yeah,
obvious.
especially in the later ones.
Yeah.
Ow, that hurts.
There's a bit coming up where he gets to a dead end where he doesn't know where to go next, and he looks directly into the camera very briefly.
I do like that low register piano banging
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, coming up. He almost looks directly into the camera here. Coming up here.
Yeah.
See?
Mhm.
This Russian guy in the foreground on the commentary, Wolfgang Peterson, says that this actor, he just thought he was like a young Marlon Brando, just the expression that he was giving there as he wandered along.
How much did Budweiser play for that product placement?
And Bounty kitchen towel or whatever you call it. Did you get the score for this when it first came out?
No, I got it a few years after the fact. I did get the expanded one like the second it dropped, though.
I couldn't believe it when Varese released that. I thought that was something that would never see the light of day.
The expanded version?
Yeah.
How many years ago did the expanded come out? Was it? Because I still remember it being recent, but I think it was over 4 years.
I think it was 2019, was it? (2019).
Okay.
When did you first find out that Joel McNeely had written music for the film as well? Because for me, it was only some time later that I found that out.
Probably when the expanded release came out.
I knew before then, but I just had no idea what parts of the film that he'd done. I must have known that for a while because I think it's in the credits at the end. I think there's an additional music by credit or something along that sort of line. I think.
Hello, David. How are you?
Hi, David. Lords of the Scores. I like that.
I'm doing good, David. I think Ian's doing okay too. You okay, Ian?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks, sir.
It's nice to think they have rolls of duct tape on board Airforce One. So does this humanize his character to you, or?
Well, he's not a total monster throughout the film, is he? He's not just completely evil. This scene helps, I think, but he's not just a nut job. Have you ever seen a film with Gary Oldman where he uses his real accent?
I don't think so. I don't think
No,
Gary Oldman even knows what his real voice sounds like
no.
anymore. David said the prison interiors were filmed at the same spot they shot Shawshank Redemption in Mansfield, Ohio.
That's right. Yeah, I've forgotten that.
And there's a connection fee. I'm like, I don't care.
Just going to step away briefly, Daniel.
Yeah, I'll wait. I'll be here when you come back.
I'll know where to find you.
David, have you been to the prison where they shot Shawshank? Do they let you like tour it? Can you go in, look around, or? Oh, they do have tours. That's interesting. Is it worth going to see?
This is the first of the big Joel McNeely action pieces coming up.
Oh, the prison is haunted. That's cool.
If you believe in ghosts.
I feel bad for this pilot. He's like, "Are you sure?
Is this going
Like,
to work?
can you repeat that one more time for me, please?"
Can you imagine if he fired this missile and it blew up Airforce One? He'd be straight on the radio going, "Well, she made me do it." Yeah, this is all Joel McNeely music.
I wish they would give Joe McNeely some Star Wars shows to do.
Yeah. Now, does he kill that guy, the Russian, or does he
He
just kind
broke
of?
his neck.
All right.
I guess he could live. Just wouldn't be able to function.
No.
Busted.
Would there ever have been Air Force One if it hadn't been for Die Hard? Do you think?
I don't see this as a Die Hard ripoff, but that's a good point. How would this movie have been if Bruce Willis had played the president?
It would have been a different film, I think.
Who's a better villain, Hans Gruber or Gary Oldman's character?
I'm going to have to say Hans Gruber.
I would too. David's right. They did booming business for the genre.
Absolutely.
David says Hans Gruber. Hans Gruber for the win. Yes.
Yay! Even though they're both scumbags, there was something about Hans Gruber that you kind of liked. He had a bit of style, a bit of panache.
I think I would have been friends with Hans Gruber if it wasn't for the fact he was just running around killing people. I mean, Hans was suave, yes.
Both of the films spawned great scores as well. This is a really cruel scene.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was a Secret Service agent, if he popped up, I mean, that would just wouldn't be very productive.
No. That was refreshingly honest.
Yeah.
I very much doubt if he cut just one of those tiny wires, it would cut something so important that it would cause the plane to crash. That seems a bit extreme.
That's why I didn't go into electronics. That's one of the reasons. That I took all my Transformers apart one time and I couldn't get them back together again.
I can't build Lego sets without instructions.
Lego sets are quite complicated nowadays, my friend.
Oh, I know. few years ago, I bought a Lego Lamborghini. It's a huge thing. It's about a foot and a half long,
Wow.
but it had something like 3,500 parts or however many. But it took me about 15 hours to build it, just using. Well, you have to use the instructions because there's no other way of doing it. But I read things online. People were saying, "Yeah, I built it in 5 hours." I was like, "What? Did you have a team of people building it for you, or maybe I'm just slow at these things?" This film is consistently inventive and interesting in the way it does its kind of little action set pieces, considering it's all just on basically on the inside of a plane, one plane. He's only 5'8".
Gary Oldman's 5'8".
It was saying on for his character's profile there that he was 5'8".
What are your top 5 Goldsmith scores?
Star Trek: The Motion Picture has got to be in there. I'm not going to put these in any order.
Okay.
I always hate this question. Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I have to say Masada. Masada is always up there for me. And 3 others. There, what are yours?
Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Russia House. I'd have to think really. I would have to think.
I think the best when you're doing these top fives or top tens or whatever, if you think too hard, you end up just coming up to a buffer and
Yeah.
you find it really hard. You need to just go with the ones that you think of immediately. I think. I was trying to think. I was trying to think too hard, and I was just going to think. I don't know.
And I loved Russia House. Uh,
I'd have to. I tend to go with the ones I listen to most. So I at this moment watching this, so Airforce One, this is probably my most listened to Jerry Goldsmith score. Uh, not necessarily, it might not necessarily be his best. The Wind and the Lion,
yeah, yeah.
Poltergeist. See, I would have to go for Birdman logic if we're going to do a top five.
Hmm.
It would have to end up being a top 67 or something. Rambo, First Blood Part 2.
I need to go check on someone. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. Ghost in the Darkness. That's another favorite of
What about
mine.
Congo?
Do you know what? I like the score for Congo. I think the film is appalling.
Okay, so I'm asking a geopolitical question for you because you're all British. Do you have a vice prime minister?
We have a deputy prime minister.
So, like, if the prime minister were to die suddenly, they would become prime minister?
I think they would probably take over some responsibility. If the prime minister died, there would probably have to be a. I don't know whether there would be an election or whether they would. The party in power would vote for a new leader who would then become prime minister. Because Boris Johnson has said that he's going to resign
Resign.
at the
Yeah.
moment. I thought that if he was going to resign, I thought there was going to be an election and everybody in the UK would go and vote for a new prime minister. But no, that's not the case. The Conservative Party, who Boris Johnson is a part of, are voting for a new leader who will then become the next prime minister. So it's really bizarre and complicated and nonsensical in many ways. Because a lot of people voted for Boris Johnson to be prime minister, rather, or did they vote for the Conservative Party, which he just happened to be the leader of, and he then becomes prime minister because they voted for the Conservative Party?
Did John Major get booted out of office, or
Probably voted out. I mean, they're probably at the end of his reign, they voted for Tony Blair, I think, wasn't it?
yeah?
Yeah. So yeah, because John Major was Conservative Party, and Tony Blair was the Labour Party. So like Democrats
Yeah.
would be Labour Party, I suppose, or equivalent, and Republican would be Conservative. Is it? Yeah, ish. Richard Edlund did the visual effects for this film, and he did the visual effects for the first few Star Wars films and the first Indiana Jones films.
Yeah. Who would have thought mid-air refueling become such a set piece for action and adventure?
I've never seen. I think this is the only film I can think of with this kind of thing. An air refueling, as you say, action set piece.
Was there one
There
in
was.
Independence Day, or am I confusing?
Don't think so. No. There was a kind of there was an air refueling thing in Stealth. Did you ever see that film about
No.
the autonomous kind of Air Force planes, kind of robot Air Force plane that goes rogue?
Jessica Alba was in it. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's this. I mean, it must be set in a kind of the near future because there's this a refueling blimp that just kind of travels the world, or a refueling a massive thing. So planes just fly up to this thing and dock on, refuel, and carry on, and this thing just keeps flying around the world, and they just. But that whole thing blows up when they get to it. Love this theme.
Is there a concert version of Airforce One?
The only version I've heard of it is in Jerry Goldsmith's movie suite that he used to do at his concerts. The suite that starts off with the Sand Pebbles and includes Poltergeist and Papillon, ends with Wind and the Lion. In later years, he added Basic Instinct to it and Airforce One.
Yeah, it's probably not a good thing for a fuel tanker to catch on fire.
No. That's quite a striking image. That tanker going down with the flames kind of gushing out of the cockpit
Yeah.
window.
So, Ian, are you going to make any more cooking videos?
Cooking videos.
Yeah, he made that pasta video.
Well, I still have quite a lot of pasta left, so. Do you know what? Now you said cooking videos. That might be a new thing on the channel.
Like boiling water, grilled cheese, microwave coffee.
Just try and boil different things to see how they cook. You know, like boil a Mars bar or something.
Well, you deep fry them over there, don't you?
Yeah, I've never tried them. That just sounds foul to me. I meant to ask, on the thumbnail for tonight's show, you had me as Harrison Ford,
Yes.
but you as a training shoe.
That's an Airforce One.
Is it a particular make or brand or model of shoe?
All I know is it's some sort of expensive tennis shoe. They're called Airforce One. That's
all right. Okay.
David makes a valid point. Ian has shown us what happens when you soak enchiladas packing peanuts.
I was amazed at that. I think I mentioned on Facebook last year sometime that I ordered my first CD from Entrada, and they said, oh, the packing peanuts are biodegradable. You just put them in water and they dissolve. So I tried a couple, and they did. It just dissolved to nothing. So I made a quick video and put it on Facebook, saying, "Wow, this is amazing." Entrada things are so well packaged, though. It doesn't matter if you're just buying one CD or lots of CDs.
I wonder what the new releases are going to be next month.
I still can't get over that they're releasing Willow.
Are you enjoying your copy?
I am. Fantastic.
I will say this, that last video you made with your James Horner and Maurice Jarre soundtracks, I keep going back to it to rewatch it.
I did that because I don't have that much James Horner, and I don't have that much Maurice Jarre. So I thought, I'll lump them both together. There's no real connection between the two, but there's a lot of scores there that I really like. So
I think Maurice Jarre, did he do close to 500 films?
he did a ridiculous amount. He did a lot of obviously a lot of French stuff, but
yeah,
he was really quite prolific. I'm not a fan of all of his stuff. He could be quite eccentric with some of his scores, but he certainly knew his way around an orchestra.
I just ordered the Waxworks pressing for Jacob's Ladder. Did you get the Entrada release of Jacob's Ladder?
No,
I guess it wasn't in your video. Yeah.
It's been decades since I've seen Jacob's Ladder, and I can't really remember the score.
The score, I never saw the film because it looked scary, and I just don't do that. But I ordered the Entrada release, and it's just I put it in, and I'm like, where has this been all my life? I wish I had listened to this 20 years ago.
Is it one of his all electronic ones, or is it orchestral?
I was thinking it was more orchestral than electronic. It's kind of creepy, but it's also kind of beautiful. maybe it's like dating a goth girl you met on Tinder. Yeah, she's goth and kind of creepy, but she's just got a beautiful soul inside. It's just trying to come out. I don't know.
Right.
So I just got to describe it.
That's an interesting way of saying it. I'm intrigued now. I think that's a brilliant moment. In other films, the president would sacrifice, would probably say, I would sacrifice my family for my country, but he's like, nope, for my family, I'm going to save them.
David says, we salute you, Jeff Johnson, and Trotter shipping manager. Yes. Good job shipping. And David just started listening to Eric's podcast on James Horner, part 1. It was great. And Anders just joined us. Hello, kind sir. How are you? Good evening, gentlemen. Just coming from a fantastic day on the beach. Well, thank you for rubbing that in. Tell us about the beach. Do they have hot women running around on the beach in scanty bikinis? Give us details.
Hi, Anders.
So, Ian, would you sign the piece of paper?
Oh. I would like to think I wouldn't,
I would.
but in all reality, I'd have probably signed it half an hour ago.
Yeah. I would have signed it as soon as we found out he was alive, because if you have Harrison Ford calling up Strategic Command and saying, fire some nuclear missiles, and then you got the vice president saying, no, you can't do that, you've instantly got a crisis, because you, as a military officer, have to follow your orders from the president. Period. So you're screwed. But I mean, for the movie, it makes a nice little thing in the movie. But.
Yeah.
Anders, how warm is it where you're at today? Ian said it was rather warm for Scotland. I think it's going to be like 98 here by the end of the week.
Oh my
But
God.
let's not dwell on that today.
That's horrendous.
Yeah, well, we're not going to dwell on that today. It's just going to experience it when it comes and then move on.
I checked the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit today, so we'd have been about 86, 87.
That sounds amazing to me right now.
To me, that's uncomfortably hot.
What's your heat index?
Well, what's the heat index?
Heat index is you take the temperature and you take the humidity, and that tells you what it feels like outside. It's like a wind chill, only in reverse.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I think on the weather forecast, it was saying it was 28, 29, 30, depending on where you were. But it feels like, I think it was 33, 34, something like that. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
Anders says it's 26 degrees C in Gothenburg. Gothenburg just sounds like an awesome town. Anders says Gothenburg's a fantastic town. Well, Ian and I will come visit you next week, and we will do The Watchmen live from your living room.
I'm sure he'll be chuffed with that. Just going back a bit, I love that fall down the stairs that Gary Oldman's character and the First Lady do. It's not a big kind of Hollywood kind of action fall. It's just real messy slide down the stairs.
Anders says that we are welcome to come visit.
David is saying that 33 Celsius is 91 Fahrenheit. Thanks, David.
Our heat index here has been 100 or so, like every day for several weeks.
Oh, I couldn't deal with that.
I'm expecting Friday's probably gonna be like 110 to 115. I'm just guessing.
Is that usual for this time of year, or is that?
Maybe August. It seems like everything just came early this year, so I'm hoping fall will come early. Please, dear Lord, please. But after 4th of July, Halloween comes out of Cracker Barrel, and I have hope for the fall.
Okay.
So
I must admit, I find it easier to keep warm than to stay cool.
yeah, by far. Did I ever show you my great coat?
Don't think so.
I'm gonna go grab it real fast. I'll be right back. You're gonna like this. This is awesome.
Okay. I hope he doesn't come back wearing it. He's going to pass out. I wonder if Harrison Ford is going to throw himself around like this in the new Indiana Jones film. I'm really hoping it's going to be good, the new Indiana Jones.
Okay, this is my polo one. It's just like a naval officer greatcoat. Got the epaulets and everything.
All right.
It's just basic navy, gold buttons from polo. This guy, it is a World War II era American greatcoat. I replaced one of the arms with Royal Stewart. I put a giant 42 in Royal Stewart on the back for the Black Watch, 42nd Regiment of Foot. I took apart a battle dress blouse and added extra pockets on here. because you never have enough pockets. I made a giant ass pocket right down here on the bottom with Burberry 12 straps. I've got a leather half belt back on it because, you know, go big or go home. I'm a field marshal.
Why not?
Why not? You know, and I found some old patches on eBay for the Scottish division and whatnot. But yeah, when it gets cold enough, I bring out this beast, my favorite coat. And I do love this coat, but I just pretty much wear it for like dress occasions.
So when would you wear that? What sort of occasion would benefit or?
Weather-wise, it needs to not get above like 40 or 45. It's got to be really cold because I'm sure you've seen military greatcoats. They're very heavy.
They are.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't wear it out in the rain either because it's going to end up being about 100 pounds.
I'll wear it in the rain because the rain won't quite get through it. It's so thick.
No, but it'll soak the rain up.
Oh, it will.
and weight-wise, it'll become.
Yeah. But no, I put a lot of work into the Scottish one. A lot of work.
That's quite a spectacular piece you have there.
Yeah. I worked with a guy and he's like, would you sell that coat? And I'm like, 3,000. And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah. Because the time I find another great coat that will fit me, time I buy the patches, those field marshal ranks, I paid a little over 100 for those. They weren't cheap. Then I have to take apart another battle dress blouse. I have to put in all the hours back into this. This is a one-of-a-kind item. You're not going to find this anywhere. No one has anything like that. So yeah, you can buy it for $3,000.
That's a bargain.
It really is because there's not another one. And I don't know that I would ever get around to doing all this work again.
Did you do it all yourself?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed, Daniel.
But I don't have a sewing machine anymore. So like, look at this patch. Everything came off eBay.
You're quite proud of that, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Thank you, David. I'm glad you like the coats. I would like $3,000. You can have one of them. every few years, Polo will come out with a great coat, and either the navy or the olive drab, and it looks just like the vintage ones. And I think last time they were $4,500. So I'm pleased.
Do you know what I found amazing is when I did that when I was an extra for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, all the costumes that we had were World War II era genuine German uniforms. Mm-hmm. So the greatcoats we were wearing for that were actual German uniform greatcoats. I just found that amazing.
Did they let you keep them?
No.
You can find them pretty easy on eBay, but finding ones that fit for like real size people that's difficult.
Yeah. This is more Joel McNeely music here for this scene.
Yes, David. Ian was in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
I think I mentioned it previously. I played a German soldier in the Berlin scene, in the book burning scene, along with about 800 other servicemen. I was in the army at the time, the British Army, and all the German soldiers in that scene were servicemen from the surrounding area, including American Air Force personnel. And it was filmed at Stowe School in Buckinghamshire.
I hope it was cold that day.
It wasn't. It was July. It was July, if I remember rightly, July 22nd or 21st, 1988. So nears, damn it, 34 years ago.
One of the actors who played one of these pilots was killed by the same guy that killed Versace.
But in real life?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember the guy's name. I know he went on a killing spree that one summer. And
was he targeting people? Or was it just random?
I think Versace was a straight up target. I think this actor guy was just kind of happenstance.
That's sad. So I think most of the effects up to this stage of the film are pretty serviceable. You know, a few niggles here and there, but I think it still holds up to a certain degree. It doesn't kind of take you out of the film too much. It's still quite spectacular stuff. It's just that final crash scene that kind of...
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, there was a fight between models or CGI. And
yeah. Imagine if they had built a quarter scale model and kind of just plowed that into the sea or into something. That would have been quite spectacular.
How big would that have been? Wow. How big is a 747?
It's that big, but kind of multiplied a number of times.
Okay.
How long is a 747? 231 feet long. And has a wingspan of 195 feet. Does that help?
So it would have been about 60 feet long, roughly.
That's
a pretty big model. Yeah. But think of the crash.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever, you were in Washington recently, but have you ever been to the White House?
I was block and a half away from it in my hotel. I walked by it. They've really got it quartered off nowadays.
So you can't get a really good view of it.
They've got so much fence up in DC now.
Right.
I mean, DC is pretty city. I know there's bad parts of it, but like the main capital part, it's very well maintained. But lots of police officers everywhere. It had a weird vibe about it, though. I felt very much out of place in DC. Kelly, the night I got to Belfast at like 11 o'clock at night, and I was just like, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah. This seems like an insane idea, but it is a real thing.
Would you like to do this in real life?
No,
No.
you couldn't pay me any amount of money to do this. Well, I suppose you could, but
$5. That's $5 the day before payday.
yeah, when it means something.
Yeah.
Didn't they attempt a similar thing in one of the airport films? One of the ones with Charlton Heston? Or am I getting my films mixed up? Have you seen Cliffhanger?
I have.
Because there's a similar scene at the beginning of that where they transfer from one plane to another.
Yeah. That movie, when it gets violent, it gets really violent.
It does. It seems overly violent in at some points.
Yeah. Like the guy gets impaled on the stalactite, and
Yeah.
but John Lithgow playing a bad guy, he was naughty man.
I like John Lithgow. He's always value for money.
Is he British or is he American?
No, he's American.
He is American?
Yeah.
He sure does sound British.
Yeah, he wasn't bad with the British accent there.
I don't think the guy with the chest wound's going to survive that trip. I admire his commitment to the team.
What was his plan? He was going to get off the plane. How was he going to explain that the president didn't make it across, I wonder?
Well, usually bad guys don't think everything through.
No, I suppose. This is where things become a bit ropey.
Yeah. Like you said, it's kind of hard to fault a movie that's how old now, Ian?
25 years old.
25 years old.
I'd say, but even though I find this a bit ropey and a bit, well, to be brutal, crap, but it didn't pull me out the film. I didn't get to the stage to go, oh, this is shit.
I'd still like to see that 50, 60-foot model just boom. That would have been awesome.
I think they need to do a George Lucas special edition kind of version of that. Where they
Well, that's the only thing you can change. That's
yeah,
it. That's it.
Film a new crash scene for Air Force One.
And then we get that triumphant theme going.
Yeah.
Like USA, USA.
I think I mentioned it in the text chat when you last watched this. There's no messing around at the end of this film. Save the president, finish. And I love the way the music finishes.
Oh, I think after that entire ordeal, I would just fall to my knees and cry and pray.
Yeah, might be a bit of vomiting involved.
Yeah, probably some of that too.
Perfect ending.
Yes. You got a friend in me.
Oh dear.
And I never remember Gary Oldman's name in this movie aside from Gary Oldman. But it's Ivan. That seems so predictable.
His name is not really. It might be mentioned on that crib sheet they showed, or this is the guy that we're looking for. But
yeah.
Nobody actually mentions him by name in the film, do they?
No, not that I can think of.
Now I'd be interested to see whether there's a additional music by Joel McNeely. Or for some reason I may be remembering this wrong, but I'm sure he got a credit at the end here somewhere.
It's not a lot of stunt people in this movie.
Well, not a lot of credited stuntmen. Having said that, by this stage they were crediting all of them, weren't they? Sometimes though, it may seem like they used a lot of stuntmen, but they'll use stuntmen over and over again.
Yeah, additional music by Joel
There
McNeely.
we go. Yeah. That's why I was so glad when the deluxe edition of Air Force One came out and we got Joel McNeely stuff on it. Especially that I always wanted the music for the final attack on Air Force One by the enemy fighters. I think they had a lot of cooperation by U.S. Air Force on this as well.
They did, and the Secret Service.
That's right, yeah. I think they got a tour of Air Force One as well, or some of Air Force One. Apparently, the whole escape pod was the filmmaker's idea rather than a real thing.
It's a good
And
idea.
I don't think there's a parachute ramp at the back of Air Force One. Orchestrator Alexander Courage.
Who
Alexander
did the
Courage.
original Star Trek theme?
Yeah, and he also orchestrated a lot of John Williams scores as well.
He has. He did Superman 4.
Yeah, which is a great little score as well.
I enjoy listening to Superman 4. I'll pop that in any day and listen to it.
And it did have some new John Williams themes on there as well, which was always a plus.
I enjoy Superman 4 more than I enjoy the second Harry Potter.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. This is one of those end credit suites that it wasn't a composed suite of music. It was just kind of edited highlights from the film. I wonder what was Jerry Goldsmith's last actually composed end credit suite that he actually kind of put together. I'm trying to think of it. Maybe it was the Burbs.
That's been a while.
Yeah.
That came out. I was in elementary school when that came out.
That was 88. Was it 88, 89, 88?
I think it was spring of 89.
Right. Oh, maybe no. Gremlins 2 came out after that. That had an end credit suite. Rather than an edited highlight of the score. There's a huge amount of military support there.
Looks like it all came from Ohio and California.
Yeah. It's been 25 years and I still enjoy watching that film.
I'm right there with you.
And I still never tire of this music.
And that was Air Force One, ladies and gentlemen. I say ladies and gentlemen, like according to YouTube, like ladies were like 2% of our viewing audience. But 20% of people are in India, apparently. So
People in India watch this.
20%, according to YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I didn't know I had so much cross-cultural appeal.
But you're getting quite a few views on these things, aren't you?
We are getting quite a few views on
Sorry,
these
we are getting quite a few. It's your channel though, so yeah.
It's all of our channels. I'm just the front man.
That's really impressive.
It really is a team effort. I'm not a solo guy. It's all of us.
David said that amazing how many films hold up against the test of time.
Yeah.
Well, this does obviously. A few kind of visual effects things aside. Things like Die Hard. There are so many. It's everybody's got their own kind of core little group of films that they can watch over and over again. There are some films I remember watching when I was a kid or a young man that I've watched 20, 30 years later, and I've thought, it's not as good as I remember. Some of the early James Bond films, which I used to love, I still love all the James Bond films, but some of them can be a bit twee, especially Doctor No.
That was the first one, was Doctor No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very much of its time.
Didn't have much score in it.
No, and what score it did have was kind of odd.
Yeah.
I didn't really rate Monty Norman as a.
Didn't he die recently?
Yeah, he died last week, I think.
Yeah.
But luckily, we got John Barry for the next one. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And then David Arnold.
David Arnold later on, yeah. Bill Conti did one.
He did. Your Eyes Only, or?
Yeah, For Your Eyes Only. Michael Kamen did License to Kill.
Yes, Ursula Anders. Ba 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 boom boom. What you got coming up on your channel this week?
Me?
Yes.
I'm putting together. This is just from David. You know, I do all these. I'm following, your way of doing things. Just doing an opening of mail for the first time for the camera. And he was saying, why don't you, I love all that, but why don't you give us your thoughts and feelings about the music and the films? So that's why I did that Matrix thing at the weekend. So I'm doing one on Willow, and I'm going to go back through some of the other CDs I've got recently, and do a little kind of I don't really want to call them reviews, but just kind of reflections and my feelings on the music and the films. Because if I buy a film or I buy a soundtrack, it's because I love the music and I love the film. So it's just going to be me gushing about the film. But I'll put together when I first saw it, how I felt about it, how I've especially I remember seeing Willow in 1988, and I watched it again the weekend, and it's still a really good film. It's never really it's not one of those films that I watched in 1988, then you watch years later, you think it's not as good as when I first saw it, or I didn't have that same feeling. It's still a fun, feel good, quite a dark film as well in places. So yeah, I'm going to put a video about that probably in the next few days. So that's my
next
plan.
week we're doing Watchmen, correct?
Yeah. Which version are we going to do? I suppose it all depends on which version you can get.
Yeah, let me see. 3 hours is pushing the upper limits of my battery power for a live stream.
Yeah. I mean, try for the original version, the 2 3/4 hours. It's still a long film.
And I've never watched it all the way through in one sitting before. I have to digest it in chunks because the violence is very disturbing in that movie.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll discuss it when we're watching it, but there's the actual comic book is not quite as violent as the film. But anyway, we'll discuss that when we're watching it. I mean, we can do it if you want. We can do the 3-hour version. Maybe do it do a 2-parter or something.
Let me see what's available on Google Play, because that's what it's going to come down to, what they have.
Okay.
I'll check that out today, and I'll let you know. I did not know there was 3 different versions of the film, though.
At the moment.
I'm curious to see that 3 hour and 35-minute one, though.
Yeah, there's I think on one of the versions you could get the kind of the animated segment as a kind of special feature. Let's have a look here. I don't know. It's on one of them. Yeah. But as I say, it's interesting to watch just to say that you've seen it. But I don't think that having the Tales of the Black Freight, unless you're a huge fan of the graphic novel, it doesn't really push the story ahead. Or
Okay.
But,
I'll check Google Play and I'll let you know by tomorrow.
okay.
Cool.
Oh yeah, David Pensax mentioned Marvin Hamlisch did a Bond score as well.
Which one did he do?
He did The Spy Who Loved Me.
Okay.
So,
Was that a Connery or was that a Moore?
that was Roger Moore. That was Roger Moore's third one,
Okay.
1977. That's where the song "Nobody Does It Better" comes from, by Carly Simon.
I've never really cared much for that song.
Oh, I quite like it. It doesn't really sound like a James Bond song. It's a nice song, but it's one of the more popular James Bond songs. So, yeah. But
Well, everyone. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, "Spy Who Loved Me" was when the Roger Moore films started getting a bit outlandish.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, everyone, thanks for stopping by today. Adopt, don't shop. Keep listening to great film music. Boomer and I will be back Wednesday with Black Rain, which is one of Ridley Scott's 3 finest films ever made. I'm not going to change my mind. Spy Who Loved Me had more of a disco edge, according to David. Yeah, kind of so. I would agree. But keep listening to great film music, everyone, and we will see you Wednesday, if not before, and definitely after as well. Take care, everyone.
See ya.